Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. As promised to my loyal Instagram followers, we are going to do Tittibhasana to Bakasana today, Firefly to Crow. If you're not already following me on Instagram, shame on you. Go follow me now and then come back and we'll start. Okay, in order to be able to do Tittibhasana to Bakasana, of course, you have to be able to do Tittibhasana and you have to be able to do Bakasana. Makes sense, right? If you can't do both of these poses or either of these poses, I've got videos on both. You're in luck. Make sure to check them out to master these poses so that you can come into this transition like butter. Let's start with our Tittibhasana. When we come into our pose, and again, I'm assuming you already know how to do the pose, in order to make the transition, your hips have to be really high, right? Because your leg has to fit under the hip. Now, in order to help me get the hip high, it helps a lot if I can get my knee all the way back on my shoulder on the setup. So a lot of people, they just sort of come in like this. And they're so low on their arms that it's going to be too hard to get high and get the transition. Being on the shoulders means as I root and rebound, as I press down to lift up, my shoulders come higher, my hips come higher, which gives me more room for the transition. How do I do this? As I bring my arm through my legs, I take the webby part of my hand, that's the very technical term for this, press it into the back of my leg and squish my arm in there like crazy. You can see my knee is all the way up at my shoulder. If you can't get it there, you can't get it there, but you're going to do the best you can. Then I do the same with the other leg. Now notice when I do this, I'm like all squishy, my knees are bent, my spine is round. It's okay. Our main prerogative right now is low shoulders. I don't care if your spine is round, I don't care if your knees are bent, let's get low. From there, setting it up for my posture, I sit down on the arms. Legs need to squeeze in. That's important to stabilize the arms. As my legs come forward into my pose, our first drill is just going to be to practice trying to get my hips or your hips up high. In order to do this, let's keep your legs straight. We're not going to go all the way through. We're just going to go about halfway to the floor. So start to tip your body weight forward, but keep your arms straight. And then see how high you can, squeezing your thighs in, lift your hips, and place your feet on the floor in front of your hands. So it winds up as sort of like a wide uttanasana of sorts. This is our first skill, and what we're doing here is creating the push, the root and rebound, pushing down into my arms to go higher, right? The more I press down, the more I lift up, and the complementary pull. What's the pull? It's a combination of lifting from my hips and, no matter what the question, the answer is core. I'm pulling my core in like crazy. This should feel like the most intense sit-up you've ever done. So let's try this again. We're not going all the way through. We're going to land 6 inches in front of our hands or so. So again, I go as low as I can here. Really, really trying to, and this hand isn't here for decoration, folks. It's here for leverage. I press to really, really get down low. Hands to the floor. As I sit, my legs come up in the air. I start to tip, but my arms stay straight. I pull up from my tush and just place my feet on the floor, continuing to lean forward. Okay? So that's the first skill that you're going to need. Let's move it to the Bakasana, because in Bakasana, we're also going to have a bit of a lift in the hips and in the knees. Keep in mind, so many people do Bakasana here, and this is wrong. They take their arms to sort of the back of their hamstrings. I'll do it forward too so you can see what I'm doing, and call this a crow. This ain't a crow, folks. It's way too low. Crows do not fly that low. Okay, crow pose, Bakasana, your shins are all the way up on the triceps, up here. So you see the difference. I'm way up here, not down here, right? So in this transition, people are always coming from Tittibhasana, this really low flying crow. So how are we going to get higher? Well, we got the push of the arms, right? We've got the pull of the hips. And then the other thing is that you want to bend your knees and pull your knees up towards your chest, because a more bent knee is going to come off the floor more than a straight leg. Like, so imagine here, if my leg is not very bent, my leg is on the floor, but without moving my hips at all, if I can bend my knee up to my chest, it's off the floor, right? So having that bent knee action is really going to help me in my efforts to get high on that Bakasana. Now, when I come into the Bakasana on this one, the hips are going to be a little higher probably than you're used to. So in a variation of the crow yos that I've done in my, I think it's in my crow to handstand video, instead of lifting from the mid-back, let's try a little bit of lifting and lowering from the hips and from the movement of the knees. So coming into my crow nice and high on my arms, I'll start with the hips low like a normal crow, and can you sort of lift your hips up, tilting down a little bit towards your head, and down, up, and I'm squeezing my legs in as I do this, and down, up, and down. Because this lift in the back is the second half of the transition. The lift in the front that allowed my legs to come down was the first half. We're going to have to connect that to the back side of the pose. Okay, coming back to the Tittibhasana again. We'll take it from the front to the back, but let's do it one bent leg at a time. That's the easiest way to make this transition. So it's the same entry, right? I get nice and low, I squish myself in, I sit on down, I hug my legs in, that's super important, because it stabilizes my arms and my core. And this time, bend one leg and see if you can point it backwards. But you see how my shin is very low? Now, lift from your midsection to get it up. Once you're up, the second leg will come around fairly easily. Again, the mistake people make is that they wrap the leg around and they stay low. So it winds up looking like this. They come in, and they bring their leg and they just bend it. This is not my crow, right? This is too low. I've got no flight. I'm like this far off the floor, okay? Why? Because I did not lift my hips. So when the leg comes around, complement it with the lift. By the way, knee to chest engages your core. Think about it. If I say do something to engage your core, you're going to do like a sit-up, right? It's going to be something either like this, which is knees to chest, like this, which is knees to chest, like this, which is knees to chest. All of those things are meant to bring the core more engaged. So let's try that one more time. So here I come to save the day. Mighty Mouse is on the way. So my leg bends. Now, see how my foot is flexed? It's not going to be able to make it back that way. I need to point it and lift from my tush to get me into my posture. The foot positioning is important, guys, because otherwise you're just going to run into the floor if you keep it flexed. Okay, so once you have the one leg, bent leg movement, let's try moving two legs at the same time. Now, the problem with a lot of people when they start moving two legs at the same time is it gets a little splitty. Like their legs lose control and they get all like, okay? That we don't want. How do we keep the legs in control? We hug in from the adductors, from the inner thighs, pulling inwards. Again, that accomplishes two things. First of all, it's going to stabilize the arms because I'm pulling in on my arms. But second, it's going to engage the Mula Bandha, which is going to help you to engage, that's right, the core. Let's try two legs at the same time. Now, in order to do this, it's going to be a similar action to what we did in the beginning when we lifted up the hips, but with the bent knees, it's going to be way easier to clear the floor. So, squish and push, get way in there, hands come down, sit down, legs are up. Now this time, just like before, start to lean forward but bend both knees to pull it in. Now, my core when I'm doing this feels like if there were like a vortex right here at my solar plexus. Everything is pulling in. Right, this is like 50% of the way all the way to a handstand, right? Which is going to require insane strength in that area, okay? So, we start out with sort of a straight leg, but then when we feel like we're running out of room, we bend the knees, squeeze in, pull up by a combination of core lift and tail lift to take the knees up the triceps. Again, here we go. So I'm in, I sit, look how high I am onto those shoulders, right? The higher shoulders gives me higher on my lift. As I tip forward, I bend my knees. I'm going to have to point my feet backwards to come into my high crow. Okay. Let me just reiterate that whenever I do one of these videos, I'm not expecting you to do everything all the way through. But you might, which is awesome, but you might not, which is still awesome. So maybe this is where you are today, maybe even the previous is where you are today, but work on each step until you're ready for the next. Okay, that's my way of saying, let's try two straight legs. In order to get the two straight legs, my hips are gonna have to be really, really high. Think about it. If my hips are this high, my leg can fit under it, right? With a straight leg. But if my hips are this high, there's no way for a straight leg to get under. Does that make sense? If my hips are this high, I'm completely SOL, okay? That's a nice way of saying a not very nice thing. So if you don't know what SOL is, feel free to look it up on the Urban Dictionary. In the meantime, just take my word for it, it's not what you want. Okay, so our goal here is going to be to have hips high enough that you can get the clearance for your whole leg. Okay, let's see if we can get clearance. We're going to take what we just did and integrate straight legs. Again, it's a combination of root and rebound, press like crazy into your hands. Sometimes it's a little scary because the shoulders are going past the wrist. Deal with it. And it's going to be also the pull action of the core complemented by the lifting of the hips to take you up. Here we go. Squish, squish, way up on the shoulders to give you the extra height. Sit and lift. Now if I don't have my legs in, they're going to slide down. As I tip forward, pressing into my hands, I lift and my legs are actually hugging into my arms. Once I get to the wrists, I can bend my knees to come up. I know that my talking was on a bit of time delay of what was actually happening, but I'll do it again so you can see. So first we try to get to the point where the feet are basically hovering next to the hands, and only at that point do I bend my knees like crazy, right? Because the short knee comes up. The long knee does not come very high up to pull myself into the posture. Here we go. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. Keep those legs squeezing in. It's super important. High on my shoulders. High, high. Sit. Lift the chest. Legs go forward. I start to tip by literally taking my shoulders forward, lift from my hips, legs to the wrists, and then they bend to come in. Woohoo! Hey guys, this is a fun one. And again, eventually, this is going to take you into your handstand. This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. Don't forget, I also have full-length videos on Vimeo to help you reach whatever your goals are. Sign up there, sign up on Instagram, follow me on everything. Your whole life will be so much better.